Imagine walking into your favorite fast fashion store, H&M, Zara, Forever 21, and finding it closed. No more endless rows of trendy clothes at bargain prices. No more mannequins in the latest styles. What's happening here? Well, it's happening. Fast fashion brands are closing stores across the US at an alarming rate. Stores that once felt like a staple in every mall, every shopping center, are now shutting their doors for good. You might have heard the news, but why is this happening? We've all been caught in the fast fashion trap. The lure of affordable on-trend clothes that make us feel like we're on top of the world. But underneath the glitzy ads and the cheap prices, something much darker is going on. The fast fashion industry is crumbling. And what we're seeing is the beginning of a retail collapse. The rise of fast fashion, a global phenomenon. To understand why fast fashion brands are closing stores, let's first take a step back. Fast fashion revolutionized the retail world. Instead of seasonal collections, these brands, Zara, H&M, Forever 21, and others, began churning out new styles every week. The turnaround time for fashion was faster than ever, and clothes were more affordable than ever. It seemed like a dream come true, and consumers were hooked. Why pay more for quality when you could buy a dozen outfits for the same price? The endless turnover of new trends at bargain prices meant that shoppers could keep up with the latest styles without breaking the bank. For years, it seemed like fast fashion was an unstoppable force, making it one of the most profitable business models in the world. But, like all things that seem too good to be true, cracks started to show. The shift in consumer behavior. Shopping habits are changing. Over the past few years, something fundamental has been happening in the world of retail. The consumer has changed. Millennials and Gen Z, the two biggest demographic groups in fashion, are increasingly rejecting the fast fashion mentality. They're not just looking at the price tags anymore. They're looking at sustainability. They're starting to care about ethics, about how clothes are made, and about where the materials come from. Many younger shoppers have come to realize the environmental and human costs of cheap, disposable clothing. The rise of sustainable fashion has made waves in recent years. Brands like Patagonia, Everlane, and Reformation, known for their commitment to ethical production and transparency, have gained a dedicated following. Consumers are starting to vote with their wallets, choosing brands that are more in line with their values. So what does that mean for fast fashion brands that have built their empires on mass production, overconsumption, and low-cost labor? Well, it means their business model is starting to crack. The fall of fast fashion. Store closures. Across the US, fast fashion giants like Forever 21, H&M, and Zara are starting to feel the heat. You've probably noticed that over the past few years, a lot of stores have been shutting down. These are stores that once seemed like staples of the American shopping scene. Forever 21 has filed for bankruptcy twice in the last few years, and H&M has closed dozens of US locations. Even Zara, the global powerhouse, has slowed its expansion. Why? The simple answer is, the fast fashion business model no longer works. Here's why. The shift to online shopping. Consumers are increasingly shopping online, and the physical store model that fast fashion brands relied on is in decline. E-commerce has taken over as the primary shopping method, and brands that relied on walk-in traffic are struggling to keep up with the online giants like Amazon and Shein. The cost of oversaturation. Fast fashion brands flooded the market with stores in every city, every mall, and every corner of the US. But now there's just too much competition. The market is oversaturated, and brands are realizing they can't keep the lights on everywhere. It's too expensive to maintain thousands of brick-and-mortar locations. Economic pressure, inflation, supply chain issues, and rising labor costs have increased the cost of goods for these fast fashion giants. With higher production costs and decreasing demand, they're being forced to close stores just to stay afloat. Consumer backlash. There's also been a growing backlash against the wasteful and unsustainable practices of fast fashion. Brands that once relied on cheap, disposable clothing are now facing increasing pressure from both consumers and regulators. More and more people are calling out these companies for their role in environmental degradation, exploitative labor practices, and the mountains of textile waste they create every year. The rise of slow fashion. Is there hope for ethical brands? As the fast fashion giants struggle, there's a shift toward slower, more sustainable fashion. Consumers are increasingly prioritizing quality over quantity. The rise of thrift shopping, secondhand clothing, and vintage fashion is part of this movement, where people are opting for unique, durable pieces rather than fast, disposable trends. Brands like Everlane, Allbirds, and the Patagonia have gained popularity by focusing on transparency, quality, and sustainability. They've adopted a business model that's designed to make fewer, better clothes that last longer. Clothing that's actually worth the price. But this shift comes with a caveat. Slower fashion means higher costs. And that's not always what the average shopper is willing to pay. In a world where people have been used to buying cheap, trendy clothes every month, the idea of paying more for a well-made garment can feel like a hard pill to swallow. Is fast fashion dead or just evolving? So, is the fast fashion bubble bursting? Are these store closures a sign that the industry is dying? The answer is complicated. While it's true that the physical retail model for fast fashion is in trouble, the online fast fashion business is booming. Companies like Shein and Boohoo have capitalized on the fast fashion as a service model, offering lightning-fast production times and next-day delivery. The convenience and the low prices of these online giants are still attracting millions of shoppers. But the future of fast fashion, in its current form, looks uncertain. With consumers becoming more conscious of the environmental and ethical costs of cheap clothing, the brands that can adapt to ethical practices, sustainability, and online retail dominance will be the ones that survive. For others, well, they might just be the next ones to shut their doors for good. Final thoughts. Are we ready for a fashion revolution? As we look ahead, it's clear that the fast fashion industry is at a crossroads. With consumer behavior shifting, environmental concerns rising, and economic pressures mounting, the industry is being forced to change. Whether these brands can evolve fast enough to survive, or if we'll see even more stores closing in the future, remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, the way we shop, the way we consume fashion, and the way brands operate is changing, and fast. What do you think? Are you ready for a new, slower, more sustainable fashion world? Or are you still caught up in the allure of cheap, disposable clothing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The fashion world is shifting beneath our feet, and it's up to us to decide which direction we'll go next.